Good morning, everybody. This is Gleason with Startuptrading.com. It is Monday, June 22nd, 2020. Economic news at 11 a.m. Bank of Canada Governor Macklin will be speaking. There's really no other major news events here today. We have flash manufacturing, PMI services out of the Australian dollar at 7 p.m. and then PMI out of the Japanese yen at 8:30. And then tomorrow also U.S. So all the PMI numbers will be coming out over the next couple days. Existing home sales for the U.S. markets at 10 a.m., but nothing too heavy this week at all. These are our only Red Star news events, so a pretty light week for news events in general this week. Let's take a look here. I do want to start off, and I had kind of mentioned this a little bit on what was Friday at the time, that gold was setting up for a higher time frame breakout here, and we can just go to the daily chart real quick. We are right back at, this is going to be a pretty important level moving forward. We've run into it in the overnight session, but we're right back at the 1775 level, which is what's keeping us from a breakout. Now, once we start clearing this and maybe we have a little more consolidation, we are going to be breaking out through the highs of 2020. And you can go to a monthly chart, a 10-year monthly chart. This is a monthly leg start lower back to the consolidation of 2011, 2020. So, we clear this top, and the gold's been on the higher time frame, a very, very bullish. I mean, look at these monthly candles. The last real down month was November of last year. Now, we had a lot of volatility earlier in the year, but those candles had all closed at the high end side of the range. So I do believe once we start clearing these levels, gold can really take off and start heading towards that all-time high pretty quickly. So this is definitely a market to pay attention to. Now, we had a full 50% retracement last week on Monday, and that was at the 1713 level, traded first thing in the morning. That upside target was this 1774. We completed that negative 23% upside profit target of the halfway back from Monday, and there was a halfway back on Thursday that also completed a profit target at its negative 61 at that 1775. So we are right off a double profit target. Now, if we can make a new high, we will begin an extension from Thursday's high, but right now the next measured move would just be the traditional from Thursday's low to high, which we quite have not traded. We came down, we filled the gap from the Sunday night open, and then we just traded to the backside of the range. Now, there would be a possibility of this extension. You could see it actually had a bid on its 38.2, but we'll see if this is going to continue in a very aggressive bullish. The buyers need to keep this above 1759. Otherwise, we got a 10-point rotation down to that 49 level, and that would be the next level I'm looking at support. But just be aware of where gold is on that higher time frame, because we very well may be entering a situation where we're breaking out of a massive consolidation level. I mean, just look, we've been inside of this range for months, a couple months here, and we're getting to the top side of it. So with gold is silver, and let me just back out here a little bit. We are right at the profit target from the halfway back that traded on Thursday in silver. That was in 1813. Okay, in 1813. Ideally, the perfect next measure move would just be that Thursday's low to high, just like GC. That brings us back to 1779.5 for a potential silver 50% retracement pullback. And that is really the next level we look for. The only other situation I look for a different setup is if we once again take out that overnight high, and then I'll look for a more aggressive entry. But right now I'm just looking for us to pull back into that Thursday low to high, because our overnight highs are a profit target. And then just to show you guys what this daily chart looks like, we're going to be bumping up against this trend line that is existed. We had a breakout a few weeks ago, and we came right back under it and actually respected the trend line again. So it'll be interesting to see once we get up towards that trend line. Once again, this is higher time frame stuff, but above that, I do believe silver begins cracking higher. I'm going to go to the S&P 500. Now, we have run into, and yesterday, or I should say all of last week, we traded inside of what was an extension. And that extension was from the high of 29.8175 to high. Now, we first tested it on Tuesday. We retested it in the overnight session going into Thursday, and then we had what was our third failure from high. We broke the halfway back long from lows, and we actually set up in a 50% retracement short. And then we set up in a 50% retracement short. So there has been some aggressive selling here after the break of the extension, but we also came into the full 50% retracement long. And that is the halfway back from the lows of last week, which traded on Monday, to high. That level was at 30.40 quarter. Going into the day, I'm anticipating us to, we have to find our footing. We had the futures rollover, quad witching. There was definitely a total trend reversal during the day, but quad witching can end. We trade this halfway back. When we load up into these halfway back levels, it really just gives us fuel to trade higher. So one of the things I would like to see for longs is actually a break of the short, which I'm going to leave up right here. We're at this level. I'd like to see us break above 3107s and then come into a pullback. So break above 3107s and then come into pullback. Otherwise, it would just be a retest of the 30.40 quarter before we found any support. And for the Dow, and it's similar in a way that we had actually pierced the 61 of the extension in the Dow. So the Dow had this high to high here. We pierced the 61. It was a little weaker. We had, our third failure to break out and then a move lower. Once again, we pierced this 61. So the Dow is a little weaker, dipping into its 50 here, and that's just something to pay attention to. And we're not even at, we're not even at that full 50% retracement. That's actually going to be above us at the 25,944. So that would be a resistance level on a first test at 25,944 because we pierced this 61. We broke the halfway back long. This is absolutely a valid short setup on a first test. And that's really the only level I'm looking at, 25,944. The NASDAQ, Super Bowl still. The NASDAQ Friday morning had a completion of the extension we had held all week. It was a 96.23 anchor from Monday. We traded it on Tuesday. The profit target was 10,091. We were trading those profit targets at the open on Friday. Now, there was a possibility in only if we continue to go straight up in extensions was this market going to continue to break out. We traded the extension to extension and then broke it. As soon as we broke it, what do? We fell all the way back down. We had a completion of a target. We fell all the way back down. And I actually left this little box here before I had left on Friday. And we traded it here Sunday night, the 98.68, and we've already broken above the opposing 50% retracement. Ideally, I'd love to see a retest of this 38.2. That'll fill the gap towards the end of the day, and that's past the 4 o'clock close. But that 99.25, I don't know if we'll retest this 50, but that 99.25 level here in the NASDAQ. In our upside targets, based on the support that traded at the open of Sunday night, is 10,227. We completed an extension last week. It's very well a possibility that that extension completes this week. Oil. This was a laser setup Friday. This was in the laser setups on Friday. It was, at the time, the anchor was, it's a 35.35. I drew it to the high. Now, we made a new high once we opened at 10 o'clock. But if you go back into the chat room and look at the laser setup, this is exactly where this box was. We traded down into this extension, and we just rocketed off of it. There is a 50% retracement from the swing low of Friday to high. Now, it was a little sloppy here on the Sunday night open, but any retest of this 39.22, I would consider this area to be a support zone. Okay, this 39.22. And at some point, if we do continue a consolidation in CL, a first test of the 37.98 would be a potentially a great level to look for a long sequence. Moving on to the USD JPY. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. I'm still this range just keeps getting tighter and tighter, and it's actually been, the USD JPY normally has a lot more volatility than it's had in the last few weeks. It just really has slowed down. But ideally, what I'd like to see here in the USD JPY is a test of the 107.16. We had a 50% retracement last week from Tuesday's highs to what was Thursday's lows. They were front run by 4 ticks at the 107.12. And we've just been really straight sideways in a consolidation ever since, with the downside target of a 106.47. So there's nothing to do unless we trade the 107.16s or the 106.47s. And there is, some JPY news tonight, so maybe that happens. It's not big news, the Yellow Star event, but possibly, tonight around the time frame. I think that was at like 8:30. Aussie dollar battle zone. We have come into what is a retest of the extension long. Now I need to back out here on the higher time frame. I'm gonna go to a daily chart. There is a daily extension long from April 30th to high. The 50% retracement is a 68.16. We tested those levels on Sunday night, Monday last week. We ripped out higher. We actually broke a short. And then we broke a long. So we just came into a retest of that 68.16. Now, what I would like to see is us once again break a short. We are right at the halfway back short from last week's short sellers coming in at this zone. And so 68.16 support, 68.93 resistance here for the Aussie dollar. The euro, and then there was a move higher and then a move lower. We double bottomed here Sunday night, and we have begun a sequence out of this. Now, I don't have any resistance to the 112.60. I don't have any resistance, and I'm just going to mark that up with a dashed blue line to represent a 50% retracement short and actually get rid of that. But I would love to see a halfway back long for the week right now, and that would be a 111.97. That would be a 111.97. Otherwise, we have no resistance to 112.59 that I'm watching. The pound, we have broken, I believe, the full 50% retracement from May lows to highs. We've broken that 61. And there's the possibility that we just now trade the next short. What I want to see is a halfway back from Tuesday's high to low. It's a 125.10. A 125.10. I'm going to just keep it. There has been a reversal out of this low, and we've traded a reaction to the long. If that completes, we can pay attention to it. If we trade up to 124.56, there might be a next measure move. But right now, I'm going to let this just let this be and see this 125.10 level. And then the USD CAD. This is also in a range kind of like the USD JPY. We continue top side of the range, 136.17. Bottom side of the range, 135. Nothing really in between. It's a 120 pip point range at this point in time. We are right at the halfway back long, so if the CAD has any chance of continuing higher, it's very important that it continues higher from here. But you could argue that there's a little bit of like a trend line here, and then you got just a halfway back long. So very well could continue higher from this level. Anyways, guys, that is going to wrap up my morning trade plan. I'll share my levels with all of you members in the room. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And anybody you know who's interested in trading, you can share this with them. Hopefully it helps them learn. And if you'd like to try out the trade room, just go ahead and click the link below. Take care. I'll see you guys today in the trade room and begin streaming my screen. Share this with them. Hopefully it helps them learn. If you'd like to try out the trade room, just go ahead and click the link below. Take care. I'll see you guys today in the trade room.